love stories. Hey, welcome back to Love Stories. I'm your host, Cheri Smith, Blue Heart Music, and this is a place where you just might learn a little bit about love while being entertained. So today's topic is the most appalling thing I ever had happen to me while on a date at Disney. And really, I have to say this is the most appalling thing to ever happen to me at all on a date. It was pretty shocking. Like, I can't believe this guy did the thing he did. But anyway, we'll discuss. I'll tell you my story. All right, so I want to give you a little bit of background. I participated in the Disney College program one summer, and I would say it was a pretty fun summer. But you're not really gonna make any money if you do that. Like, they pay you minimum wage, but you get to go to the parks for free, except for, like, I think the water parks were like half price or something. But it was a lot of fun. You know, they basically get minimum wage, and then they deduct your cost of living, your housing, out of your paycheck. So you're not left with a whole lot, because they house all the college students at this housing complex. So while it was fun, not really a great way to save up. What you do is, like, when you go there, they have something called traditions. And so you have like a weekly class. And the first one is really fun because they take you and they kind of get you all excited for the summer and tell you about the program. And they take you early into the park, and you guys like get to go on, you guys, like, maybe you're gonna do it, I don't know. But you get to go on all the rides and stuff, like, before the park opens and, like, right at the beginning, so you're already, like, in there before the crowds show up. So that was fun. And they tell you some, like, dynamic fun stories, and you know, say that you're gonna have your Disney moment. Actually, the guy that did our traditions class, he was funny. He thought he was pretty great, and he was like, I'm a triple threat. You know, he's like, I can dance, I can sing, I can act. I don't know why that always made me laugh, that he was like, I'm a triple threat. But anyway, that's off the topic. But what I did want to tell you about is the Disney point. I think that's a good thing for everybody to learn before I tell you the dating story. So the Disney point, instead of pointing like this, this is something they teach you in the traditions class. Instead of pointing like this, because they don't want, you don't want to have people think that you're pointing at them. So instead of pointing like that, you either use two fingers. So if you're giving somebody directions that way, you know, like the airline stewards, they do that. So you either do that, two fingers, or you do your whole hand. So for giving directions, you know, that way, go down that road and take a left or whatever. I still use that. I think it's a really good tool to have. So you can try that out. You know, if you're, next time you need to give somebody directions or point them a certain way, try the Disney point, two fingers or your whole hand. Something else that just popped into my head when it was my first day at Disney, working there that summer, and I like didn't really know the layout of the park, and you know, I'd only been there a couple hours trying to do this new job, and somebody comes up to me, and it was a husband and wife, and the guy's like, you know, my wife's really feeling pretty sick, you know, we need to leave the park. And, you know, I see her over there, she just looks really, like, green face, you know, not feeling too good. He's like, how do we get out of here? I was like, you know, it's my first day, I'm not totally sure. I think it's that way, but again, you know, I was like, I don't really know, so you might want to ask somebody else. But, so it turns out I did in fact point them in the wrong direction. That would go toward the interior. The exit was actually that way. But I did my Disney point, so bonus points for that, I guess. But I hope they asked somebody else, because I always felt kind of bad that I pointed them mistakenly in the wrong direction. Oh, and side note, my husband, he said, oh, maybe I can watch your videos to like get some new ideas for moves. Because he always says he has one move per year that he'll reveal to me. So I'm always like, was that your move? When it's like something, ridiculous. And he's always like, yeah, that's the move that you get to hear for the year. So anyway, so he's gonna watch my videos so he can learn some new moves. Okay, so let's get into the appalling story here. So I had this guy I worked with at Disney, and I didn't know him super well, but he was like, one day he was like, hey, I'd really love to take you to dinner. I want to take you out for steak and lobster dinner. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. Sure. So he was like specifically wanted to do the steak and lobster dinner. And it was at this place, it was one of the Disney restaurants. It was like their nicest one. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's cool. So we make plans to go to this restaurant and do the steak and lobster dinner, which was not cheap, by the way. And, here we are in minimum wage jobs. Maybe, I don't think he was a college student, so maybe he made a little more than that, but I would not expect, like, that he would make much more than minimum wage. So this is, like, a pretty hefty part of his paycheck to take me out on. We go on this date at this nice restaurant with the steak and lobster dinner, and, it's fine. We have a pleasant evening. I'm not really that interested in him, and he seemed rather a bit full of himself, as I remember. but I was just like, it seems okay, but he wasn't somebody I wanted to date. And so, we wrap up our date, and we had a nice evening, but, nothing special. And he pays, so, very generous of him. So he goes to take me home, and so we go to the apartment complex that I lived in with all the college students. So we go in the complex, and you have to go past some gates, and then it like snakes around. There's a bunch of different buildings where people live. So we're driving through the apartment complex area, like the parking lot, and there's this girl that I know that I see walking. She was like my friend's roommate or something. So I was like, oh, hey, there's, I don't know, Sarah or whatever. I don't know her name. So that was a long time ago. So I'm like, oh, hey, just say Sarah. There's Sarah. He's like, oh, you know her? Should I stop? Should I drive her home? I was like, oh, I mean, it wasn't that big of a complex, so it wasn't like a huge walk, but I was like, you don't really say no. So I was like, I guess so. That's kind of weird when you're like bringing somebody home from a date to like pick up somebody else. So I was just kind of like, okay. So she hops in the back, and then he asks me, okay, how do we get to your unit? To me, not to her. So I was like, oh, he's gonna drop me off first? All right. But then I was thinking, she'll just get out at my place because she lived very close by. It'd probably take just as long to walk over to her unit as it would to drive there from my unit. So I was just like, okay, well, so we get back to my unit, and he's just like, okay, good night, thanks, and like, thank you. And it was just like a little awkward departure, but she doesn't leave with me. She just gets in the front seat. So it was weird from both of them. Like, he picks her up and then takes me, his date, home first in this like small parking lot area. And then also weird that she didn't, like, she just got in the car with us and then like gets in the front seat with him when he drops me off, even though she doesn't even know him. So it was just such a weird situation. So he drops me off. I'm like, okay, good night. That was a very strange ending to our date. The very expensive dinner that you took me to, I'm like, thanks. So then he drives off with her and takes her back to her unit. So I see her a few weeks later and I'm like, so what happened with that? And she was like, oh, he asked me out for steak and lobster dinner. So he actually picked up another girl, asked her out, like at the end of our date, he picked up somebody else and asked her out for the same date that we just been on, for the same steak and lobster dinner. I'm like, what is that, his thing? Like, he just takes anybody on this date? Maybe he really likes steak and lobster and doesn't care about his finances. I don't know. But she actually had, at that point, already gone on the date. She wasn't like super excited about him either. But I was like, is that not the weirdest thing? To actually pick somebody else up on a date while you're still on the date, and then drop his date off first, and then ask this other girl out for a date, like for that same date, that you don't even know. And she said yes. So I don't know. The whole thing was very strange to me. I was just like, what is going on here? All right, I hope you find that story very appalling. So, you gotta appreciate it for what it's worth. So what are some lessons we learned here? Well, I guess even though I find their behavior quite appalling, I wasn't really that offended in the long term because I didn't really care about this guy, and I wasn't like great friends with this girl, so I was just kind of whatever. If nothing else, I appreciate the funny story. And I appreciated the free dinner. I mean, that was awesome. Steak and lobster. So, if you have things like that are kind of offensive, I would not take it too personally. Like, just let stuff like that roll off your back. And then maybe another lesson is, like, for safety, I don't think it was a very good choice for that girl to hop in the car. I mean, it was probably fine because she knew me, but once I got out of the car, for safety, she should have gotten out too. I mean, she didn't know this guy. She had never seen him before. I know him because I worked with him, but she had no idea who he was. She was just like trusting that it would be safe to be riding in this car with this guy that she just met. So for safety, I think that wasn't the greatest idea for her to continue riding in the car after I got out. So I would recommend making smarter choices. Just don't ride in cars with strangers. Seriously. I've got another story about that actually, also at Disney, where I didn't make a very good safety decision with that regard, but we'll save that one for another time. All right, so that's it for Love Stories today. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and also please keep in mind to do your Disney point. So again, 2 fingers or your whole hand. Okay, give it a go. It's a lot of fun. That just reminded me, a little flashback. I saw this British girl got in like a pretend car at MGM Studios, and she goes, "Dad, can we have a go in the car?" And I always love that. Like, that's my go-to for like a British accent. I'm terrible at saying anything else, but the way she said that really stuck with me. So I just always think, if I'm thinking British accent, "Dad, can we have a go in the car?" I don't know why I like that so much. And anyway, okay, so Disney point. And then if you are college age or going to be, I would recommend doing the college program. It's a lot of fun at Disney. And just remember, you're not going to get paid a lot. You're not going to bring home any money at the end of the summer, but it's very rich in experience. So, if you want kind of an interesting experience and something to put on your resume, it's worth doing for a summer. Now it's your turn. What interesting experiences do you have from Disney? Maybe when you were just there for vacation. I'm sure something interesting happened. Please share below. I'd love to hear about it. But now it's time for visual aids. Remember, there'll be a new episode almost every Thursday, 4 p.m. Pacific time. I kind of did that blindly. Hopefully I hit the right spot. There we go, almost. And please like, subscribe. And remember, I'm trying to build my subscribers, so I would totally appreciate it. It would mean a lot to me if you just click on that little subscribe button. It's actually quite difficult initially to build your subscribers, so the more help I can get from people such as yourself, the more the channel can grow. So please give me a little hand with that and click that subscribe button. I would be very appreciative. All right, share if you like, and most importantly, I want you to know that you are loved. I want you, or should I do you? You, for that one I'm gonna do 2 fingers. I want you to know you are loved, although I actually am pointing at you, so I'm not giving you directions. Unless you need directions. Do you need some directions? All right, thanks so much for watching Love Stories. I'm Cheri Smith, Blue Heart Music, and I will catch you next time. And they deduct your living expenses. Oh, do you guys hear my dog going crazy out there? All right, I'm gonna just pause until he's done going crazy. Hang on.